There is no force more mysterious and mighty than the spoken word. The ancients knew it. The prophets proclaimed it. And yet today, many walk the earth unconscious of the invisible architecture they are building each time they open their mouths. The words one speaks are not idle sounds. They are living energies, creative agents that go forth into the ethers, forming, shaping, and attracting according to their vibration. What you speak, you set in motion. What you affirm, you begin to embody. And what you declare with faith, you summon from the unseen into the seen. The soul knows the truth long before the mind comprehends it. That speech is not a casual act, but a sacred one. Every sentence spoken is a seed. Some seeds bear fruit of joy, healing, and abundance. Others birth weeds of fear, delay, and limitation. The difference lies not in the sentence itself, but in the consciousness behind it. A word, when spoken with spiritual authority and belief, becomes a decree, to command to universal law. Desire on its own is only a spark. It flickers in the heart, yearning for fulfillment. But it is the spoken word that breathes life into that spark and turns it into flame. One may carry a dream for years, buried under the weight of doubt or passivity. But the moment that dream is spoken aloud, with conviction and alignment to the divine, the universe responds. The law of the word is immediate and impartial. It does not question your worthiness. It responds to your belief. We see it in simple affirmations repeated daily that quietly change lives. A woman says, "Everything I need is already on its way," and doors begin to open where there were only walls. A man declares, "I walk in divine abundance," and finds himself guided into unexpected prosperity. These are not coincidences. They are demonstrations of spiritual law. The spoken word impresses upon the subconscious mind, and the subconscious, being the gateway to the universal, moves to fulfill the command. But there is a warning here as well. Careless words are just as powerful. To speak defeat is to plant defeat. To complain is to attract more situations worthy of complaint. Words are always creating, whether you mean them to or not. You cannot afford to be idle with your language, for the law is always listening. Many cancel out their own good with a single sentence of fear, unaware that the universe has no sense of humor when it comes to instruction. It listens, it obeys. When a sentence is spoken with certainty, love, and expectation, it pierces through doubt and begins its silent work. It travels beyond the ears of men and into the blueprint of spiritual form. No longer is the desire simply imagined, it is claimed. And what is claimed under spiritual law must reveal itself in perfect time and order. But the claim must be clean, free of contradiction, free of the poison of if and but and how. These are the thieves of manifestation. The power lies in simplicity and surrender. One sentence, when uttered from the deep place of knowing, becomes more potent than 1,000 forced efforts. The one who understands this truth guards their mouth as a sanctuary. They no longer speak idly about lack or misfortune. They do not rehearse old wounds or repeat false labels. Instead, they use their voice to prophesy good, to affirm what is unseen but real, and to cast their desire into law like a stone into still waters, trusting the ripples will return in kind. The world is a mirror reflecting the substance of our spoken word. You do not speak what you see, what you have spoken. Each phrase, each declaration is either fortifying your dream or feeding your doubt. The sentence that turns desire into reality is not a magic charm, but a spiritual key. It opens the way because it is spoken in faith, not fear. It aligns with the universal supply, not with limitation. It is the spoken permission for the divine to act on your behalf. Desire is often misunderstood. In the minds of many, it is treated as something to be tamed, doubted, or pushed aside, as if longing itself were a sign of weakness or selfishness. But the truth is far more sacred. Genuine desire is not born of the ego. It is born of spirit. It is not something you invented. It is something whispered to you. The heart does not randomly yearn. It remembers. Desire is memory speaking from the soul, calling you back to your divine inheritance. The moment a desire rises within you, not a craving of the flesh or a whim of envy, but a deep, persistent pull of the soul, it is a signal that what you seek is seeking you. Spirit plants the seed of desire in you not to torment, but to lead. It is not a tease, but a map. Every true desire carries the blueprint of its own fulfillment, because no divine urge is given without the way to express it. This is spiritual law. To suppress desire is to resist divine instruction. It is to say to the infinite, I do not trust the gift you've given me. People often question their desires, holding them up to human standards, asking if they're too grand, too bold, too much. But the soul does not deal in smallness. Spirit does not issue timid callings. When you feel the pull toward love, toward expression, toward prosperity, toward healing, it is the infinite asking for form. Your desire is God's voice saying, there is more for you. One does not need to chase or wrestle with desire. One must honor it. Recognize it. Receive it as a divine instruction. The moment you say, this desire is holy, it changes. It rises from the realm of wishful thinking into the realm of spiritual assignment. And once it becomes a spiritual assignment, it carries with it the full support of the universe. Doors open, people appear. Circumstances shift, not because you willed it, but because you aligned with the truth of it. People often say, but what if my desire is wrong? The answer is simple. A true desire never harms, never steals, never diminishes another. A true desire is always inclusive, always elevating, always abundant in its nature. If a desire brings you closer to your soul, closer to love, closer to joy, then it is of God. The test is not logic, it is vibration. Does the desire expand you, or does it shrink you? If it expands, then it is a signal from the divine. This is why one must stop labeling desires as impossible. Nothing is impossible to the Spirit. The infinite created all that is seen from the unseen. It does not blink at what you call miraculous. What to you seems far away is already formed in divine mind. But the law cannot deliver what you reject. If you deny your own longing, you deny the answer that is already on its way. If you speak against your desire, you place bridges. Desire is not a luxury. It is a compass. It points to your next right step, your next level of unfoldment. It tells you, here is the lesson, here is the blessing, here is the part of yourself you have not yet lived. And when honored, it sets the law of attraction into motion, not as a tool for getting, but as a mirror of being. You become what you desire when you stop running from it and start recognizing it as the divine in disguise. To deny desire is to remain in stagnation. To doubt it is to mistrust your own spiritual nature. But to embrace it, to say yes to it with clarity, faith, and expectancy, is to move in rhythm with the infinite. And in that rhythm, what you long for becomes what you live. You do not chase it, you align with it. You do not beg for it, you become it. The moment you recognize your desire as divine guidance, the path forward begins to reveal itself. Faith is not mere hope dressed in polite language. It is not a wish or a soft desire tinged with uncertainty. Faith is a spiritual force, alive and intelligent, and when it is fully activated within a person, it becomes the most powerful creative agent in the universe. Faith is the substance through which the invisible becomes visible. It is the divine substance that fills the gap between the desire in the heart and its demonstration in the outer world. To possess faith is to live beyond the five senses. It is to believe in the thing you cannot yet touch, to give thanks for the thing not yet arrived, to walk in the world as if the prayer has already been answered, and in truth, it has been just not yet revealed. Spirit answers instantaneously in the invisible, and faith is the bridge that carries that answer into the visible. Nothing stands between the soul and its demonstration except the shadows of doubt, fear, and double-mindedness. Faith does not need proof to exist. It creates the proof. Most wait for signs before they believe, but in spiritual law, the belief precedes the sign. Faith says, I know it is done, though I see nothing. And because that certainty is unshakable, the law must obey. The outer world is always catching up with the inner decree. What the soul claims with unwavering faith, life must eventually mirror. Many speak of desire but do not realize they are canceling their own requests with fear-laced language. They say, I want this, but I don't know how it could ever happen. That one sentence stops the entire process of manifestation. Faith does not concern itself with the how. The how belongs to God. Faith is only concerned with the what and the knowing. Faith says, this thing is mine by divine right, and lets the law unfold it in divine order. Faith is creative because it aligns consciousness with the higher laws of the universe. There are two levels of law always at play, the law of appearances and the law of spirit. Appearances say, there is not enough. Spirit says, all is provided. Appearances say, you are sick. Spirit says, you are whole. When faith is active, you stop agreeing with appearances and start agreeing with truth. And in doing so, you draw to yourself conditions that match the truth of your new belief. To build faith is to train the mind to lean on the invisible. It is to feed the heart daily with affirmations of truth until that truth becomes more real than the facts in front of you. Repetition builds belief, and belief, sustained with feeling, becomes faith. One does not develop faith in crisis alone. Faith is built in the quiet moments, the still hours when one chooses to declare again and again that all is well, even when nothing yet reflects it. The creative power of faith is not limited by logic, time, or statistics. It overrides precedent. It opens doors that reason says are sealed. It changes the doctor's report, the banker's ledger, the employer's decision, not because it forces these things to change, but because it rises to a level of consciousness where a higher order governs. And from that level, what seemed fixed is dissolved, and what seemed distant is made manifest. Faith is the evidence before the fact. It is the substance beneath the surface. It is the unseen cause of all seen things. When one speaks a sentence with true faith, that sentence becomes a decree, and a decree backed by spiritual authority reshapes matter. It calls things forth from the divine storehouse into form. It compels every condition, person, and event to align with the unseen truth spoken in faith. That is why a single sentence, if uttered in absolute faith, can unlock a flood of demonstration and unfold what no effort alone could accomplish. The mind, like nature, abhors a vacuum. It cannot hold two opposing thoughts at the same time. It will either lean toward fear or lean toward faith, but never both in equal measure. This is the great spiritual law known as the Law of Substitution. Whatever thought you consistently hold in consciousness will eventually crowd out its opposite. You cannot think fear and faith, lack and abundance, illness and wholeness at the same time with equal force. One must dominate, and the dominant thought is what sets the tone for your experience. The law of substitution is the silent engineer of your reality. If you do not consciously choose faith, joy, peace, and abundance, the mind will unconsciously drift toward fear, worry, doubt, and resistance. This is not because you are weak. It is because we live in a world that constantly suggests limitation. But the spirit within you always offers the higher thought. And when you choose it again and again, you begin to overwrite the old mental blueprint. A sentence spoken in alignment with truth is a key that unlocks the power of this law. When fear arises and you declare, "There is nothing to fear, for God goes before me," you are not ignoring reality. You are replacing illusion with truth. You are substituting the lower vibration with the higher. Every affirmation, every declaration of faith is not just a positive saying, it is an act of spiritual defiance. It is the deliberate turning away from appearances and choosing to agree with divine principle. If one wishes to change their life, they must change their dominant thought. The average person believes whatever thought enters their mind. They rehearse fears as if they were facts. They repeat doubts like rituals. But the awakened soul understands that thoughts are not facts, they are choices. And every thought is either building up your spiritual structure or tearing it down. The law of substitution gives you the ability to take back authority over your inner world. When the voice of fear whispers, "What if it doesn't work out?" you substitute it with, "Everything is working together for my highest good." When the mind says, "You are not enough," you replace it with, "I am divinely equipped and guided." Over time, these substitutions create a new mental atmosphere, and the atmosphere of the mind is what determines the climate of your life. A thought held long enough and felt deeply enough becomes a belief, and belief is what activates spiritual law. This is why the sentence that turns desire into reality must be clean and unwavering. It must not be spoken from a place of begging, but from a place of knowing. When you declare your sentence of faith, you are not trying to make something happen. You are aligning with what already is in the unseen realm. And when a fearful thought tries to enter, the law of substitution gives you your response. Not argument, not analysis, but replacement. You do not reason with fear. You replace it. It is not enough to stop thinking negatively. If you tear down a belief in lack but do not build a belief in abundance, lack will find its way back. If you try to reject illness but never affirm health, the energy of dis-ease will find another expression. Therefore, your sentence must not only deny the false, it must affirm the true. It must stand as a lighthouse, unwavering in storms, sending out a beam so strong that no shadow can remain. The one who masters substitution becomes a master of manifestation. They no longer spiral into worry when challenges arise. They reach for their sentence, their spiritual tool, and speak it aloud, not because they need to be heard, but because the act of speaking reinforces the replacement. The voice carries vibration. And when you speak truth to fear, you neutralize its power and direct your energy toward what you wish to create. In the invisible realm of spirit, the spoken word is not just communication, it is creation. Every word is a decree, every sentence a spell, every phrase an act of authorship over the canvas of your life. The one who understands this sacred power does not speak carelessly, for they know. The tongue is the wand that summons, the voice is the wand that shapes, and the word is the wand that commands. When you speak with conviction, you are not merely expressing a thought, you are planting a cause in the fertile soil of universal substance. That cause, invisible though it may be, begins to attract to itself the conditions necessary to appear in form. Your words draw forth the pattern, and the unseen law arranges the material. Your word goes forth and does not return void, but accomplishes what it was sent to do. This is not poetic fancy. It is spiritual law. There are no idle words in the spiritual realm. Every sentence, whether whispered in doubt or declared in faith, becomes a message delivered to the law. And the law, impersonal and exact, takes that word and sets it into motion. That is why your word must be clear. It must be intentional. It must match the vibration of what you truly desire. Many speak of what they fear, then wonder why fear multiplies. Others speak endlessly of their lack, and lack continues to answer back. The law does not judge your request. It simply fulfills it. The trained soul chooses their words as a sculptor chooses their tools. They speak not from emotion, but from vision. When they declare, "A divine abundance flows to me freely and easily," it is not wishful thinking. It is a wand of truth waved over their affairs. When they say, "I walk in perfect health," they are not denying illness. They are calling forth the original blueprint of wholeness. They are not trying to convince the outer world. They are aligning with the inner law. This is why one powerful sentence spoken in spiritual authority can shift the entire atmosphere of one's life. It cuts through confusion. It quiets fear. It calls the good that is already present in the invisible into expression. The sentence must be simple, strong, and rooted in truth. It must be free of contradiction. When spoken, it should feel like the soul exhaling into certainty. And once spoken, it must be left alone to work, without digging it up with doubt or covering it with complaints. To misuse the word is to misuse the wand. Sarcasm, self-deprecation, constant complaining, these are not innocent habits. They are incantations of failure. They dull the creative power of the voice and confuse the law with mixed signals. The trained metaphysician becomes vigilant. They do not entertain gossip. They do not curse their own steps, and they do not prophesy doom. Instead, they use their words to bless, to affirm, to declare, to invoke. Every statement becomes a step toward their demonstration. This is not forced speaking. There is no power in hollow repetition. The wand only responds when the word is filled with life. That life comes from belief. The one who believes what they say releases an energy that cannot be denied. The tone, the certainty, the vibration, all of it forms a magnetic field around the spoken word, and what matches that frequency is drawn to it with mathematical precision. When you choose your sentence, the one that turns desire into reality, it becomes your daily tool, your wand of power. You speak it when things are smooth, and you speak it when storms arise. You speak it not to create pressure, but to recenter in truth. The more it is spoken, the more it is believed, and the more it is believed, the more swiftly it becomes flesh. Your word then no longer hovers in possibility. It descends into experience. It becomes what you live, not just what you long for.